Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film Rise of the Guardians. Jack Frost, who was created by the moon to create winter and school days and snowball fights, and most people don't believe in him. He's chosen by the moon to join the ranks of the Guardians, who are Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, and the Sandman, to protect the children from the Boogeyman, who has come back to bring fear back into children and ruin their dreams, or as they call him throughout the film, Pitch Black, from ruining children from believing in them. This is a Dreamworks film. I'm not really a big Dreamworks fan. It's usually a lot of pop culture references. It's like kind of a lot of farting stupid humor, and not funny farting stupid humor, because I like farts, they're funny, but just like really lowbrow and really not very good. And I don't particularly like their in-house style most of the time. Really what attracted me to this film in the first place is the character designs are a lot different from stuff we've seen from like Megamind or Monsters vs. Aliens or something like that. They really went about having a different kind of character design. And watching this film, it's a lot darker and not as cheery as most animated kids films are usually. It has a lot of darker undertones to it. There's a lot of silent parts. It gets very serious at times, although it is still jokey. It's very much your typical 3-act animated film that you're used to seeing with a lot of children. It's not totally different, but at the same time it's doing kind of a different thing with it. It still has kind of the Minion rip-offs. Everyone likes to rip off the Minions from Despicable Me. The Lorax did it, Brave did it, Rise of the Guardians is doing it as well. Rise of the Guardians did it a lot better with the elves, and the elves didn't really annoy me the way the usual Minion ripoffs I find really irritating. I actually kind of like them. I thought they actually did that kind of well. Even though it's fun and still is very silly and is still a usual kind of kids animated film, it has a nice enough of a twist on it that I actually kind of liked it and enjoyed it, and it didn't feel like a typical 3-act kids film. I mean, that's what it is, and maybe that's why I'm not like exuberant about it. This is kind of like a Rankin Bass type of Year Without a Santa Claus kind of idea, but everything with Jack Frost's identity to really find himself. You get a little more in depth into his character. You know, he has a real need to do this, to really prove himself. It's not like the usual hackneyed storyline. This character doesn't fit in, he's the underdog type of storyline. Rise of the Guardians is really more interested in telling this story than it is having throwaway jokes, which is kind of a staple of Dreamworks. I heard Guillermo del Toro had a lot more involvement in this. He is a creative consultant. He was a creative consultant on Megamind, and he was a creative consultant on Puss in Boots, and then he helped with kind of the character design and some of the plot and like try to get in darker elements to it. I don't know how much he had to do with it because he's an executive producer and he wasn't the director or anything, but you can feel more of his influence in this than I felt in Megamind and Puss in Boots. It's kind of like an interesting twist on a song you've heard a million times, but it has decent enough voice acting, you know, with Alec Baldwin as this Russian Santa Claus and Isla Fisher, and Jude Law as Pitch Black the Boogeyman is actually really terrifying. I mean, he's really spooky. I imagine that probably scared a few kids. If you look at the classic Disney films like Pinocchio, there are some really scary parts for kids that are really actually terrifying. And although this isn't that dark, it's nice to see an animation studio, and a major one at that, like Dreamworks, willing to go that far. And they showed kind of a little more artistic promise in Dreamworks than I've really seen in a while. I saw this in 3D and I thought a lot of the stuff they did with Flight worked very well in 3D. I didn't think it worked as well as How to Train Your Dragon, which was really awe-inspiring. This isn't quite there. They don't give it as much patience. They're moving around too quickly sometimes, but they definitely had kind of different visual planes they were doing with the 3D, which was actually really nice. I thought the 3D actually kind of worked out in this. It won't hurt the film if you don't see it in 3D, but if you do see it in 3D, you're not going to feel ripped off. There's enough 3D in there that you'll feel like it's kind of money well spent, but it really wasn't thematically essential or anything. But it's surprising how much is going on within this film, because I think when you look at Rise of the Guardians, you know, the Tooth Fairy has little assistants, Santa has elves and like these big yetis. There's just a lot of characters and a lot of stuff going on. This film and this director actually balanced it incredibly well for this kind of a story. Now, it's just a simple 3-act kids movie kind of a story, but they really held true to it, and I think that made out for a better film in the end. This is also the first major studio CG film directed by an African-American, Peter Ramsey. So if you have seen Rise of the Guardians and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to.